As our second video in this revived channel, we will continue from where we left off in our very first video. The video being the difference between the terms Sanatana Dharma and Hinduism, and why those terms differ, what are the historical contexts of both the terms, and the modern usage of the term Hindu and Hinduism, where do they exactly spring from? We spoke about the superiority of using the term Sanatana Dharma, and while not necessarily the inferiority of using the term Hinduism, the clear and present fact one can say that Hinduism as a term itself has too many connotations of origin, and the modern connotations wherein the term is used do not spring from scriptural sources. We also saw that several scriptures do mention the term Hindu in Sanskrit. However, nobody today uses the word Hindu in that particular sense, and that the term Hindu is used almost entirely in the sense in which it was popularized during the Middle Ages, during the time when Islamic rulers ruled most of India. Now, when we look into Sanatana Dharma, we notice something a little more intriguing. The various traditions, schools, acceptance of the Vedas, and people's view of these. When I say people, I mean the followers of Sanatana Dharma. Now, there are broadly a number of Vedic schools, or we call Sampradayas. They are basically traditions that have been maintained throughout the ages since time immemorial by a lineage of acharyas who have taught successive lineages of followers as to what exactly is the way in which a person, according to their station in society, must practice the various practices outlined by the Vedas for them. Such a tradition is called a sampradaya in very layman's terms. Sampradaya literally means a tradition. And these sampradayas, which are Vedic, are based on a siddhanta. What does siddhanta mean? Siddhanta, simply put, is an interpretation of the Vedas and Vedanta. It's as simple as that. It's an interpretation. How to look at the Vedas and Vedanta and what they say for us in terms of do's and don'ts. Now, we see various kinds of sampradayas across Hinduism, across Sanatana Dharma. Now, we also find across the wide subcontinent as a whole various practices and various belief systems. Now, a question will arise for many. Are all of these consistent with each other? If we are saying that more than one tradition exists, why are there different traditions? Why shouldn't there be just one tradition? Why can't we just be a religion that follows a single tradition? And all the customs and practices that we see across the wide subcontinent, or at least where Hindus live today in large numbers in the world, are they all consistent with each other? Do they all have the same source? How are these practices and customs also different from each other? Here we will begin with observing the various schools under the umbrella of Hinduism today. And oftentimes than not, these schools also get clubbed as Sanatana Dharma. Now we must always take care that we ensure a certain standard of measure, so to speak, to understand whether the practices we are observing fall within Sanatana Dharma or outside Sanatana Dharma, for which we should first be very firm in our basis of what this Sanatana Dharma is. Broadly, even within the umbrella term of Sanatana Dharma, observational errors in terminology do occur. Many practices that are found nowhere in the Vedas or are explicitly forbidden by the Vedas often get termed today as Sanatana Dharma or as Hinduism. Examples include pure Shaiva schools like the Veerashaiva schools of Pashupata, Kapalika, etc., or the Shakta school that's very popular across parts of Kerala, and across the majority of West Bengal. Both these streams, they follow certain very few their philosophies as far as they are concerned as philosophies. The philosophy aspect of these traditions have borrowed from very few convenient portions of the Vedas while outrightly rejecting the majority of the Vedas. How do we know this? We can see this even if we don't have much knowledge of the Vedas. We can see this at an everyday level where we see Veerashaiva schools such as Kapalika indulging in practices such as Aghori practices, which are explicitly forbidden by the purity laws of the Vedas and Vedanta. The Shaktas, for instance, have a philosophy which outlines that the Almighty, whom Hindus broadly call Paramatma, they have a philosophy that this Paramatma, Almighty, must be necessarily a female and cannot be anything other than feminine, something again that the Vedas are against. Like this, there are various very fundamental oppositions that these traditions have to the majority of the Vedas. Would it be fair to call them entirely Vedic? Are they semi-Vedic? Are they pseudo-Vedic? Maybe a little bit of the latter two. But are they really fully Vedic? No, they're not. Not really, no. We need to take care when we brand something as Sanatana Dharma or Hinduism, what we exactly are looking at and what tradition it follows. Now, the Indian government, for instance, brands the Shaktas, pure Shaiva schools, all as Hindus, whereas Acharya Paramparas within the Vedantic fold, who uphold Vedavyasa as their Purvacharya, outrightly reject these two traditions, saying that they are not Vedic, namely the pure Shaiva schools and the Shakta schools. So, what we understand from this is that this erroneous nature of terming things as Hindu without properly understanding full well what they are has led institutions like government institutions to brand anything and everything as Hindu without understanding the nature of what that term actually stands for. It would come to the mind of some that recently, in the recent years, the large numbers of the Lingayat community of Karnataka had agitated for a separate religious status because they are Veerashaivas and they do not follow Vedavyasa. And they would be right to do so because, well, you can't just brand them as Hindu and force fit them into your definition and understanding of Hinduism just because they outwardly seem to be following certain traditions of Sanatanis. Given that there are semi-Vedic and pseudo-Vedic practices too across the wider subcontinent, would it be fair to classify all of them as Sanatana Dharma? Now, when we see Sanatana Dharma as a term constantly, we have to see that the most holistic description of this term has been provided by Vedavyasa in all the scriptures that Vedavyasa himself has compiled, such as the Itihasas and Puranas most primarily. Given this nature of this definition, it would be more ideal to use Sanatana Dharma to refer to those paths, not only to refer to the path that is shown as eternally righteous by the Vedas, but to also refer to all the schools that wholly and completely subscribe to the Vedas and uphold Vedavyasa as their Purvacharya. Something that schools such as the Shakta and pure Shaiva or Veerashaiva schools do not do. In fact, they don't even accept Vedavyasa. Some of them might even reject his existence, while others would not accept him as their Purvacharya whatsoever. Now, the difference between the term Sanatana Dharma and Hinduism is seen once again over here, because this definition of calling those things Sanatana Dharma which are only subscribing to what the Vedas say and upholding what Vedavyasa has upheld, this kind of a definition will not be provided by the definition of the word Hinduism. For if we see even the Sanskrit sources where the word Hindu has been used, the explicit Vedic Vedantic nature alone that is ascribed to Sanatana Dharma is not entirely ascribed to the term Hinduism. Hinduism, we can see, is a little more loosely defined. Is even from the point of view of the scriptures in Sanskrit, which do mention the term Hindu, it is still loosely defined. It is more culturally defined and it's more behaviorally defined than is the term Sanatana Dharma in Vedanta scripture. Now, according to the respected Puri Shankaracharya, Kalika Purana uses the word Hindavaha at least since the medieval ages, which is the plural of Hindu. This definition says Hindus are followers of Dharma, which may be extended to imply Sanatana Dharma. Again, it may be extended to imply. It may be. There's a little lack of clarity here. Sharangadhara Paddhati from the 14th century calls Hindavaha as followers of Veda Marga. Okay, this is an explicit way of saying, okay, Hindus are followers of Veda Marga, the path shown by Vedas. Bhavishya Purana uses the word Hindu. Okay. Meru Tantra and Brihaspati Agama say Hindu Desha is from Himalayas to Hindu Sarovara. Again, this is a geographical reference to the word Hindu, not religious or scriptural. Shabda Kalpadruma from the 19th century says Hinam Dushayati iti Hinduhu, he who discards what is ignoble. Again, if I ask a Buddhist what is ignoble, his definition of noble and ignoble will be something very different. If I ask this to a Christian or a Muslim, theirs will be very different. Is there a reference to the Vedas here? Not really. Shankaradeva, who lived between the 15th and 16th centuries, has said that Hindu is one who with penance washes one's sins, evil thoughts, and with arms destroys one's enemies. Again, a Brahmana cannot lift up weapons, so can you say a Brahmana can with his arms destroy his enemies? It's again a little loosely defined here. Madhava Bhashya of Shankara Digvijaya says that one who meditates on the pranava as the primordial sound, believes in karma and punarjanma, has reverence for the cow, who is devoted to Bharata Desha that is, abhors evil, is deserving of being called a Hindu. Well, here there is reference to pranava, which is the root of the Vedas. Karma and punarjanma, again Vedic. This is more clearly defined. Vriddha Smriti says one who abhors the mean and ignoble and is of noble bearing, who reveres the Veda, the cow, and the deity, mostly a reference to Paramatma, is a Hindu. This is much clearer. It says Vedas. It says Vedas and it talks about nobility and morals in terms of those Vedas. So, we do know that some definitions of Hindu from these scriptures are clearer than others. But when we take the term Sanatana Dharma, the ambiguity is simply not present. It's completely absent. Veda Vyasa throughout the Mahabharata, Valmiki in Ramayana, as well as Veda Vyasa and all his Satvika Puranas, time and again when he says, Esha Dharma Sanatana, he constantly keeps qualifying what that Sanatana Dharma is and what it exactly stands for. So, we need to understand from this point of view that what even Hindus might call Sanatana Dharma in terms of observable practices across the wider Indian subcontinent need not fall within the Vedas. It becomes very clear that the majority of Hindus themselves do not know how the Indian constitution, which is their own law book, which dictates the laws for their own country today, has coined a rather ridiculous definition for them. This ridiculous definition says something to the effect of Hindu shall be a word that refers to any person who is a Hindu by religion or any of its forms or developments, including a Veerashaiva, a Lingayat, or a follower of Brahmo Samaj, Prarthana Samaj, or Arya Samaj. Now, Veerashaivas and Lingayats Lingayats themselves being a kind of Veerashaivas, therefore making this definition itself a little redundant, they don't accept the Vedas. They don't accept Veda Vyasa. Arya Samaj does not accept Varnashrama Dharma and what Veda Vyasa preached. It also says, this constitutional definition, that any person who is a Buddhist, Jain or Sikh by religion, Buddhists, in fact, not only did Gautama Buddha discard the Vedas as things that Buddhists shouldn't follow, but he has outrightly in his Majjhima Nikaya called them as lies concocted by Brahmanas. He has called Brahmanas as an evil people, and he has said that the worship of Vigrahas or idols in a temple, the way the Hindus worship, is itself fundamentally evil in the Brahmajala Sutta. So Buddhists discard the Vedas completely and vocally. Jains do the same thing. Buddhists and Jains don't believe in the Vedas. They don't believe in the existence of an Almighty itself. They are Nastikyavadi religions. They are atheistic religions by their own definition of themselves. It also says a person who's Sikh can be called Hindu. Sikhs don't accept the Vedas. They don't accept Varnashrama Dharma. They don't accept Veda Vyasa. So how can you brand them as all as Hindu? In fact, Buddhists, Jains and Sikhs, even between them themselves, are very different from one another. How can you put them all under the same umbrella term? Isn't it unfair even to them? It also says, this constitutional definition, that the word Hindu refers to any other person domiciled in the territories to which this act extends, who is not a Muslim, Christian, Parsi or Jew by religion, unless it is proved that any such person would not have been governed by the Hindu law. Can I call an atheist or a donkey as a Hindu because neither the atheist nor the donkey identify as a Muslim, a Christian, a Parsi or a Jew by religion? What kind of a ridiculous and highly insulting definition is this that the Indian Constitution gives the Hindus? It says that anybody and everybody can practically be a Hindu if they don't belong to certain categories. If someone came and asked you what your name is and say your name happens to be Abhishek, I'm just taking a common Indian name. If your name happens to be Abhishek, will you tell them my name is Abhishek, or will you tell them something like my name is not Muhammad? Nobody cares about what your name is not. The person asking you your name wants to know what your name is. If you go to the mode of saying I am not so and so, you will have to take every single name on earth that is being used today and you will have to negate all of them saying I am not this person, I am not that person, I am not that person. And then ultimately you should arrive at the conclusion that because I am not any of these, my name is Abhishek. What kind of a ridiculous way of defining one's own self would this be? Given this plethora of ambiguous, downright humorous, and in some cases even insulting definitions of the word Hindu, is it really sensible to use this term as the sole and supreme definition of this religion? Would it be fair in any sense at all? Or would the ambiguity-free, well-defined and fully rounded holistic definition under Sanatana Dharma be better? Now, once again, it must be stated that all Hindus might not overnight be able to change calling their own religion as Sanatana Dharma. Most people are not going to care. They are going to continue calling themselves as Hindus and not Sanatanis or Sanatana Dharmins or Vaidikas. However, it's always good if we have the ability to learn a better definition for a certain something rather than relying on inferior knowledge, and know for ourselves as to the historical background behind the development of that particular definition, and why, if a superior definition exists, it can always be subscribed to and it can always be used. This concludes our two-part series on the differences between the names Sanatana Dharma and Hinduism. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell button so that you may keep getting regular updates from our channel. Thank you for listening to one and all. Shriman Narayanaya Namo Namaha.